I had a hard time getting it to set up. Okay, so this is my second one. Actually, it's the second time doing the second one. Let me see if I can get this. Thank you for watching, tuning in, and all that other stuff. I'm learning here how to do the video part of this. So I need a tutor for the video part. I'll be the tutor for the digital painting part. All right. How do I look at my own stuff so I can monitor it? Hold on. I'm looking at the computer screen. Um, oh, maybe it's this way. Oh, I see it. Okay. Okay. Let me turn off the sound so I don't get an echo. All right. I can see it. There we go. All right. Now, let me just move this phone so I can show you the iPad. Okay, so the picture right there. Oops, this way. There we go. All right, let me get my pencil. This is a stylus called an Apple pencil. If you don't already know, let me show it to you. Does it say Apple on it? Yeah, somewhere on there. It's upside down. And it should say Apple pencil. See if I can get it to focus. Hello, where is it? Well, it says it. It says it on there. Okay, so the picture you're looking at right there is not Bear Lake. But it's a picture I did previously. I want you to be able to see everything, all the controls. So let me pull this up a little bit so you can see everything. A little more. A little more. I gotta get a better device to hold my phone. How's that? Does that look good? All right, we're going to start in a second, I promise you. Okay, so we're going to do Bear Lake, and I'm going to paint Bear Lake. It's going to be digital, of course. I'm using my iPad, and I'm using the Procreate app. If you're not familiar with the Procreate, don't worry. I'm going to show you what I know and what you need to know. Okay, but that's what you're looking at. You're looking at a screenshot from the Procreate app. That's a piece of art I did before. There you go back. This is kind of my gallery of what I've got going on. If you were to look at it closely, you'll see that I do a lot of illustrations for children's books. But that's not what I'm going to show you today. Today I'm going to show you how I paint landscapes using the Procreate app and the dry brush specifically, and you'll understand. So that's what Procreate logo looks like. I'm going to get a new canvas, so hopefully you can see all this. The size I want is 27 by 21 inches. The reason I do that is so that later on, if I want to print it up and put it on a canvas or a piece of paper, or somehow display it physically, then it'll be nice and clear and rich. And also, just so you know, I'm using, let me see the canvas settings. I want to show you this, because I did this kind of in advance, but you have to kind of do it in advance, otherwise it would be boring. But you see right here, DPI 300, so it's 300 DPI, 27 inches by 21 inches, 8100 pixels by 6300 pixels. And also, what's important to know is that because it's kind of large, it's kind of a large file, I only have 6 layers to work with, and I'll be explaining that as I use them, okay? So let's get beginning with this. There's my white canvas, and now I'm going to use a reference photo of Bear Lake. So let me find that. Here's my reference photo thing. Push that. The first thing it brings up is a photo of the the canvas, which obviously there's nothing there because I haven't done anything yet. So I'm going to go back to my photos, and imported one earlier this morning. Here it is. So I thought this was a really pretty shot, a really pretty picture. And I'm going to show you how I will paint this now. And what I do, to kind of get the proportions and all that right, I make the reference photo about the same size as the canvas. Make the canvas a little bit bigger maybe in this case. And I'm going to show you how I use this to paint this, okay? So I use a background color that's going to be complementary. So I'm going to look for like a middle green. This looks like it's going to be mostly a green picture. So I'm going to take the palette, I'm going to turn it to the disc one, the round one. And you can see that big circle right there. That's the green that I just sampled from the photograph. See, there it is. And it's not pure green, it's way unsaturated in this circle. That's how you can tell that. Now let's go directly opposite. That's going to be the opposite. Now if you look up here, you can see it doesn't look all that different. It's just slightly purple compared to slightly green. And now let's go back to the classic one. So I want to make it just a little bit more purple, just a little bit more, maybe even a little bit brighter. And now I'm going to pull it onto the canvas, make the whole canvas that color. Now the reason I do that, I'm going to sample it. That's how you sample it. You hold your finger to it. I'm going to explain that more in a bit. Now what I want to do is I want to take that color and put it into the background. So, let's see if I remember how to do this. So I want to go there. Wait, that's not doing it. So I want to go there, and I'm going to try to replicate that color. It's about there. So let's see if I got it. Yeah, not bad. So that's the color I pulled in, and that's going to be the background color. Now we can clear that layer because we're going to use it. We're going to use it to paint on. But my canvas is now colored this color, whatever color that's called. Okay. All right, now let's get started. Okay. So let me show you the brush. There's so many brushes on Procreate that you can use. I mean, there are very, very many brushes. I seem to have settled in the last many paintings with the dry brush and sometimes the turpentine brush. To me, they look more painterly, and that's what I want for me. Now, you could use the old brush. You could use an oil paint brush. So I use gouache for when I do the children's illustrations. Fresco is a nice look also, and watercolor is a nice look. But lately I've been favoring the dry brush, so that's what I'm going to go use right now. Okay, so there is this, it's highlighted in blue. That means I've selected it. And now what we want to do is we want to try to do shapes, okay? So let's take this shape first, that right corner, okay? Let me grab a color from the right corner. Let's go to one of the darker colors. There, can you see it on that? See on the circle, the top half of the circle? So that's the color I've selected. You can see it up there, right there, that's the color. Take the dry brush, and I'm going to make it kind of large. This is how you change the size of the brush. This is how you change the opacity of the brush, by the way. But I'm going to make it kind of large, and I'm going to kind of scrub it in. You can dab it in, so you get the brush, the brush stroke effect. But I'm going to kind of dab it in. Scrub it in. So we want that shape. That's really easy, but don't make it too defined because this is nature. You want to draw nature. Nature has lots of little things going on in it. Okay, so there's that. Now let's take this lower corner here. Let's just sample it at random. And, okay, let's bring this over here. Now, I've already seen a mistake I've done, so I'm going to explain what I see and do it. So we want that shape. Remember I started with that shape? Well, I didn't quite get it because, look, that shape goes almost to the middle of the painting, of the picture. So let's just go ahead and get that color again. Yeah, let's take it over here. Okay. Put a little bit of dark down here because I can see where there's dark. Okay, now over here, you see that shape right there in the middle there? Let's grab that one. That's a very dark one. So we want to do that, kind of pull it over here. Okay, and then up there to the side. I'm just scrubbing it in. Just keeping the point of the stylus on the glass surface of the iPad. Okay, now let's get this shape, this big old middle shape. All right, so it comes across here, goes down here, goes over here, and it goes way down here. And I think that rock, I guess that's the whole thing. Okay, and then go down by that rock and bring it up here. Okay, and then sort of like that. So let's just kind of scribble all of that in there, scrub it all in, scribble, scrub, whatever you want to say. And if you can see the texture of the dry brush, it creates this very painterly look of a paintbrush. And this is just the basic bottom part, okay? Now you see this rock right here, it's got two parts. It's got the light part and the dark part. So let's scrub in that light part and just drag it across. And we'll do the same thing with these ones back here. It's a little bit darker. The light part is a little bit darker, but I'm just gonna kind of scrub it in there. We'll use this for this rock over here. That one, there's a little bit of something going on up there. And then of course the reflections are gonna have it in it also. Now let's get the shaded part. Whoops, that happened. I didn't know I could do that. Okay. Well, that was interesting. I didn't even know I could do that. But I can't have it like that's too big. I have to be able to see. I have to be able to see the canvas. All right, come on, get to where you were. All right, so there's the shaded part, the shadow part of the rock. I'm gonna put that there. Kind of use the same. Let's see the shaded part of that rock up there and there. Okay, and the shaded part of that rock. Everything is very rough here. We're just roughing everything in. All right, let's get back to this color and kind of scribble it in a little bit there. Let's get a little bit of the lake here. Put it in there. I might change some of these to blues. That looks like a shadow on the rock. That rock is the whole thing here. So it's got a shadow on the rock and the shadow of the rock here. Shadow that the rock itself creates, and that's probably a tree shining over. Yeah, there's the tree. Okay, so let's take that corner now and finish scrubbing in whatever we can. We'll use dark and light, kind of mix it up a little bit. Okay. So I know right now this looks horrible. This looks like a mess. It looks like abstract or something, right? Not a good abstract either. It's just there. Okay. All right, now let's start dealing with the details. Let's call that the first layer. And there it is, layer 1. Let's put a layer on top of that layer. Now we're going to work with that one, okay? So let's go back up here. And let's start looking at this. You know what, let's go to the distant one first. Because I'm going to tell you something about that distant one. That distant one is very dark right now. And that's a little bit of a problem for me. Because I don't think it's going to look distant. So here's what I have to do. I have to think about this now. What if there was some more atmosphere? Maybe it was early in the morning. There was a little fog. So there's the color it is right now. I'm gonna go way up here and make it unsaturated and lighter. Okay? So let me do that. Make it unsaturated and lighter because that's farther away and there's atmosphere in the way. Let's still make it less saturated. Less saturated. So this is what I want to do to create the effect of distance. You know, when you're doing perspectives and you have the vanishing point concept, that helps create distance. But if you're doing a wooded area like this, you have to use color, you have to use contrast, lights and darks. Just kind of make it a little, I'm going to say hazy, okay? Now what also you can see in the background there, you can see that it's not just one color, it's not just one shade, it's not just one contrast, it's multiple contrasts. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm not going to worry about being perfect with it, but I'm going to put some vertical lines in there, maybe a slightly darker area here and there. Oh, that's a little bit too green. I just want it darker, not greener. Because that's another thing. The green won't be so obvious. It's that far away. Now, in a photograph it is. I mean, you can see in this photograph it's very clear. But we want to just make some deeper areas in the back. And it's all relative compared to what's going on around it. Okay? So now, you see that back area right there? That shape? That's going to be our distance. That's off, off across the lake somewhere. All right, now, let's get, let's see, what do I want to do next? I think I want to do that bush right there. So let me grab the color of that bush. It's a light green. I might not keep it that green. And I sort of put the rock in the wrong place, didn't I? That's okay. We'll fix it. Okay, now the reason I chose to do this one next is because it's also somewhat in the distance. It's a lot closer than those trees behind it. I think I don't know the lake personally, but I think it's about a half mile across. So nothing is that far away in this picture. Okay, I just want to create some dark areas here to create almost the shadow of that. And I'm going to create some light areas at the top to kind of create, and it's a very subtle, it's a very subtle it's a very subtle contrast. It's not quite super like stark white against black. It's very subtle. I don't know the best way to say it. Okay, so there we go. Now there's that. Okay. Now let's go ahead and put maybe the rock, because the rock is also sort of a distance away. So the rock has lots of different facets to it. I might have to make the rock bigger to kind of get to it. So let's just try and paint that rock now. Let's get the shade of the rock, the shadow of the rock. I'm going to make the shadow darker and less green. Okay, and this side over here has got, the light coming down here. Again, it's very subtle. Let's make it a little bit lighter. And did you notice that was a shade of purple, which is kind of cool. And what's a very cool thing about using, I'm going to make the brush smaller so I can get some of those details. What's cool about using a digital tool like this is you sort of see what you don't realize when you're doing traditional paint. So when you are back with a brush and an actual canvas, you remember, oh, when I was using digital, a toned down violet was a perfect shade color for a gray rock, or even for a green tree sometimes. Okay, and so that's this is, you see how there's purple in there? Isn't that cool? How that creates a nice shadow. I'm going to use that also for the bottom of the tree, or the bush, whatever that thing is over there. Here we go. And I don't have the rock perfect, and I will tell you, I don't need it to be perfect. I just need it to look. So again, we're not trying to recreate a photograph. What we're trying to do is create a painting, a pleasing painting. The reference photo is a reference. It's not, your job as an artist might be to recreate a photograph exactly. I mean, I know a lot of people strive for that. And let me tell you, I was one of them. I was. Ask Robert, she'll tell you. I was. I did a lot of paintings that, mostly pastels. But pastel painting is painting too. But I did, and I did regular oils and acrylics also. But I was always attempting to capture things almost like a photograph. And I'd go to like art shows and I'd look at the work that I really admired. And I would say to myself, that looks really nice. And yet, it's not photographic looking. And I was very inspired by people who, like Monet and, oh gosh, I'm just drawing a blank on the classic guys now. But I was very much inspired by how they would take their paint and do these impressionistic things. And yet they were so beautiful. Of course, Van Gogh also did a lot of that too. He had a very different style, didn't he? Very different. Well, they all had different styles. All right, so now you see what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to really create a little bit of a starkness. Now that I'm closer to that tree, I can see that I need to go back to that. Let's add some more lights. Tap it in there, make it a little bit more defined. So, and there's a little tree right there too I can start to add in to the picture. So I'm working on that little area right there. Let's get some darker greens in there. Put some shadows. And this tree over here too needs some more dark. Okay. And then I want to get some really super dark here on the bottom where it hits the water. That's true for the rock too. It's got some, it almost looks like defined lines going underneath it. Okay. There we go. All right, let's take this other rock here. Let's grab the white part of that. Let's see what that is. It's a perfectly, purely white. It's all the way in the corner there, which I'm going to keep it that way for now, but it's not that big of a deal for me. I'm just going to use it a little bit and then go to the grayer colors. Let me go back to that purple. I think I like the way that looked. Yeah, it looks good. There we go. Okay, so let's shrink it down again and sort of can see it's starting to resemble the photograph. All right, now let's go back here. Let's get this dark. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take that, what I just did, I'm going to double it. Let's just see how it looks. Sometimes when you double it, it becomes richer. Let's see, 1 and 2. There's 2 of them together, and there's 1 of them. I think I like 1 better, so let's not do that. But you know what I can do? I can combine this layer with that layer. Let's put the 2 layers together and merge them down. Now I'm going to have a second layer, a new second layer. Okay, now green here in the middle. And let's just put it all over the place. Oh, it didn't take. Oh, there it is. Okay. Let me make the brush big again. Okay, some vertical lines in there. Some very rich, deep tones too for the depth. Might as well use it a little bit on the water too. It's going to need it eventually anyway. Yeah, the water's got some really deep tones. I might mix in some blues, just a little bit. The blues. I'll be one of the blues brothers. Okay. Okay. Now this area right here is a mixture of various things that are very close to the camera and things that are farther away from the camera. I'm not going to worry about that too much right now. We'll take care of that later. Some of these light green areas here, like that right there, we can use them to start to create the illusion of these limbs. Okay? Got it sticking out over here. There we go, some of that. And some of these mid-tone greens. You just stick them in there. And we'll make them make sense in a little while. Right now, I just want to create the feel of a thick growth of trees and limbs, and there's not really a whole lot of flowers going on there, but there's that dark, that very dark. Oops, it didn't take again. Okay. Okay. Again, I'm doing a lot of scrubbing and not a whole lot of dabbing or tapping. That's probably more for later when I'm going to be doing some of the things that look like they need to be detailed. Okay. Let's see, I'll do the same thing over on this side. A little bit of dark. And that violet background that we established in the beginning, is the intent is not for it to shine through completely. It's going to be a peak here and there. There's going to be a little bit of that's still coming through when we're done, and it just offsets the green a little bit. And okay, and we might take that tree that's right up against the edge of the photograph. I might make it either I'll just make it disappear or I'll put it up here, so that it's, because I don't like it up against the edge of the photo like that, or the edge of the painting. Okay. Now, I think what I don't like about what I've done so far, I think I need that to be bigger. I think I need that whole area to be bigger. I think this area from here to here, I just feel like there's too much between here and here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lasso that. I don't know what you call it, but I call it lasso. You take this thing, I'm just going to grab the whole upper part of the painting, and I'm going to do something with it. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to make it larger. Oh wait, that's just that layer. I only got that layer. All right, so let's put these two layers together. The new layer and there. Now I can lasso it. I'm going to grab the whole half there, and I think this might work. a little bit larger. Yeah, and keep the background just as far away as it is. I think that's a little better. I think I like that composition better. You know, the, you have to keep in mind composition. If this was an actual traditional painting, obviously that wouldn't have been possible. I would have had to paint over it. But because this is digital, you can do that. Now, if you have your heart set on doing only traditional, but you're interested in, well, I'm sorry, let me say it again. I don't know what I said. Let me say whatever I want to say. If you have your heart set on doing only traditional art, but you're also interested, you're watching this video, for example, because you're just interested in digital and what digital art looks like, or at least the way I do it. There is an argument to be made that you could use this as a way to sketch out what you want to do on the actual canvas. That way you could fix the things you don't like digitally, and then the reference photo that you're using becomes the first artwork. The digital artwork becomes the reference photo. That's what I want to say. Yeah, the reference photo is the artwork. Now you see a mistake I made. I'm painting on that layer. We don't want to do that. We want to make another layer. So we're not going to worry about it. It didn't ruin it too bad. But I couldn't undo it as much. It's easier to undo it if I make a mistake on the layer. Okay. So now let's get back to here. And again, this is a shade of green, but I want it to be a shade of purple. As far as the shadows, I just think that looks so good when the shadows have a purple tint to them. Okay, there's that. Okay, yeah, maybe the water has a bit of purple to it. It already does because of the background. Now let's go back to the green. Let's make some of this water very rich. Let me get some really darks. Really dark but unsaturated. How about that? Just paint it in there. Okay, you can see it's starting to look like a piece of scenery here. But remember that area in the background right there, that's the part that you want very hazy. I'm going to make this a little bit more yellow. I'm going to make the point of the pen, the brush, way smaller. Let's go a little bit more yellow. Now I'm tapping it in because I want this to look like leaves, distant leaves. And down here we got a lot of that going on too. Over here. Scrub it over here. It's a little bit big and defined at the same time. And up here. Get some yellow and put it on that background tree, that background bush. All right, let's again, I think I still need to have some of these close-up stuff, like almost like an underpainting of dark green or dark yellow green. I think that's going to make it pop out a little bit better. And then we can add the light stuff on top of it. I think that's what I need to be doing. And over here, this in here. Okay, is that making sense to you? If you want to type something in there, I am looking up at my screen every now and then, so if you do type something and I don't respond right away, I will say something, I guess. Unless you're trying to sell me something. That happens a lot on this internet thing. People pop on, try to sell you something. Okay, just grabbing the dark. I've got a very dark olive green kind of going on right there. Just trying to create some depth here. Okay, I have a fan going. I hope that's not too distracting. Okay, I should have turned that off when I started. Yeah, so, okay, now it's quieter. I didn't even think about it. Okay. Okay, it's shaded areas. The shadows are the mysterious areas. Those are the places you wonder, what's in there, right? All right, so, all right, now let's look at this again. Back there, it looks like there's some rocks back there, some light areas. So let's just kind of put them in there. We're not going to worry about making them look exactly like that, just some kind of light coming through. So there's that rock right there. And there's that one. And I really didn't do much with this one, did I? So let's try and create that rock right there. A few other rocks over here. And every one of these rocks has a reflection in the water. So let's just make sure we do that. This one has, I haven't really done a good job with the reflection on this one. But there it is. Okay, that one's got a reflection over there too. Okay. And there's just some of those rocks that are peeking through the trees over there. And let's go back to this rock, the close rock. Okay, now let's get this shadow here. I'm going to see if that's the purple I want. Nope. I want it to be purple. I just like that look. Okay, so now let's get a smaller point on the brush. Let's get some, just scrub some detail in there. Sometimes when it's so small, it doesn't seem to work as well. And that's when I would use the turpentine brush, because the turpentine brush works really well with the small detailed stuff. Okay. So here, make it a little bit bigger. I think the problem with the turpentine brush is you have to be careful with that one too, because if it's too small, let me make this darker. If it's too small, then it'll look like a pen, which if you want it to look like a pen, that's okay. Okay, now I'm adding some darker purple, and it seems to be working. There we go. There we go. Let's see if some of that helps over here too. Make it more defined on those rocks. Okay, there's some depth over there. Okay, let's just put a few like kind of random pieces of shadow from some of the tiny facets of the rock that are catching light and creating shadows. And So the little tiny facets that you really, you would have to struggle to see every one if you wanted it to be truly a photographic representation. But again, that's not what we want. We don't want a truly photographic representation. We want an art piece of art. We want this to be art when it's done. All right, now let's go back to the white. This is almost purely white, I believe. Yeah, see, it is. And that's okay. I kind of stay away from that. I can change that later, but the light from this is so bright. Okay, just a couple of crevices here where the light is somehow reaching around it. Now I'm going to take the dark water, use it from the photograph, and I'm going to try to really define the edges of this rock a little bit, because it is a rock, so it's pretty defined. Yeah, that looks good. It's not exactly the same shape as the rock in the photograph, but I can't say it enough. You know, hey, let me just, one thing. If you're doing a portrait of a person and that has to look like the person, then every tiny little thing has to be right. Trust me on this one. A nostril that's too big, an eyeball that's too far to the left. Oh my gosh. All those little things make up for a likeness of a person or a dog or anything familiar that's a living thing. You know, even a car, you know, if you don't get it right, it's not going to look right. But when you're doing a landscape, you kind of have, you know, it's the Bob Ross attitude, you know, you kind of have a happy attitude or whatever. That's what you do it for, you know, you do it to have some joy for yourself, and you do it to give a gift to somebody else or something joyful. I'm going to bring this darker over here. Just darken that a little bit. Yeah, so when you're doing the landscape, it's kind of one of the reasons, you know, here's the thing, you know, you go to, let's say, a hospital, you're visiting somebody, let's say, and you walk into the hallway or you walk down in the lobby or whatever, they got paintings hanging up, right? You find yourself looking at those paintings, and it takes you away, it takes you to the place that's in the paintings. And then if you get really close, you realize that the painting is not a photograph. It's a painting. You can see the brush strokes. I remember a pastel painting in the hospital when my mom was in the hospital. I went outside into the hall. You know what I mean? I left the room, went into the hall, and there was this pastel landscape. It was really beautiful. It was rather large, maybe the size of this one, 21 by 27. And it was just beautiful. And there was something akin, is that a good word? Something akin to a peaceful song. It gave me some peace, if that makes sense. All right, let's go back to this bush over here. The shadow, the reflection in the water. There we go. A little bit. Maybe put some dark stuff to kind of define the difference between the two things. There we go. Well, how you doing anyway, you guys? It's weird talking to you and not having responses. See that little purple line that happened? That's the background coming through. I'm not sure I like that or not, but it is kind of cool looking. All right, now let's I think I might obliterate that. I think I don't like that. Not so much anyway. Maybe I'll keep a little bit of it. Yeah. Let me bring this up a bit. Make the rock a little bit bigger. And the reflection coming up at it. Let's get that shadow that we like here. Some horizontal lines. Let's define this rock a little bit better. This one over here. All right, let's get some of those yellow greens going on here. That's pretty good right there. Let's add some of them. Make sure we put some of that in the water too. Everything reflects in the water. The beautiful thing about reflections is they're not defined usually, unless it's a perfectly still body of water. Then it's like a mirror. Okay, let's go down here and do some of those things too. Some of the close-up greenery. So I'm going to try to do these live videos frequently. I don't want to say every day. I do want to say every day, but I don't want to promise that. I'll try. Okay. Yeah. These rocks are not exactly the way the rocks are in the photograph. They kind of took on a shape of their own, didn't they? But again, I'm not doing a portrait. I'm not trying to get the likeness of a person or a dog or a car. It doesn't have to look exactly like a Mustang car or a horse. The funny thing about animals, I've done a lot of portraits of animals too. I will tell you something. It is as important to get their likeness as it is the likeness of a human. As the owner of a dog, you know what your dog looks like. But as the artist, if you don't know the dog, you're not really. It's like a dog is a dog is a dog, right? All right, let's combine these two and start another layer. So here's what we have so far. Now I have to decide if I still need the reference photo. I think I have enough on there that I don't need the reference photo anymore. And the reason that's important is because now I can get rid of that and make this much larger and work on it with this size. Keep in mind that the finished painting is going to be more like this size. So you see all those brush strokes that you can see. But just like the painting that I was telling you about in the hospital, from a distance, it had this very cool, beautiful look. You couldn't see all the different pieces. Okay, all the different brush strokes. All right, so now we are on an unused layer, this one right here. And we're going to work this. Just work it. Simply work it. Okay. So let's I'm gonna go ahead and scrub in some darks. I'm gonna add some darks around here. Give some contrast around the rocks. Some of these rocks probably have some more greenery around them, or they will. I think, again, I'm no longer using the reference photo. So I'm going to put some vertical lines in there to represent distant trees, some branches that are sticking out. Okay, and that same thing is going to be happening over here. some dark areas. Yeah, which is going to make the water dark, and we'll worry about the reflections. Just adding dark, this water here. And you can tell I'm scrubbing in a horizontal way. Yeah, let's remember that this is the rock right here. Okay, so sometimes the dark works as dark, and sometimes the dark works as water. It's the same color. Yeah, I'm not so sure I did those reflections very well, so I'm going to kind of scrub over them. And I'm using this very dark green. Almost black, not quite. Black would ruin it, but okay. So let's remember there was growth here, there was growth there, there's growth on all four corners of this picture. And let's remember here too that this area over here is actually part of the rock. So it has some subtle areas where light's hitting it, but not directly. So we want to just remember that. Put some of these indirect light areas into the rock. And then some more dark areas onto the part that would be the water. Now I'm painting behind where I'll put some growth. I just think it's a good way to kind of create the illusion of little limbs, little leaves sticking out over the water between the camera, if there was a camera, and us. Okay, it's starting to come together. It's starting to happen, kids. Okay, so a little bit here. Okay. I'm intentionally adding a lot of darks because the intent is to create the darks only to cover them up with lights, but I wanted that dark to be back there to create the depth. And this is going to be that rock right there in the shadow. Okay. Now I'm going to try something. I'm going to put a different layer on here just so I don't ruin something. But I wonder if this would look good, putting a tree here. I know that's kind of crazy. Hope I don't ruin it. But it's a separate layer, so it's not going to ruin it. Does that look good? I mean, if I was to add some like lights to the back of it. Some, I don't know. Let me not give up on it yet. Let me see if I like it. Go dark here. Yeah. No, I don't think I'm going to do that. I just think that's not necessary. All right, I'll get rid of that. Isn't that beautiful? I can get rid of that. Well, that's the good thing. You can experiment, right? That was a good example of just experimenting. All right, now, let's try to get some more detail-looking things into the corners here. All right, let's start with some very light. Let me make it a little bit smaller so I can see it better. Little tiny dots I'm going to put over here. Let me make them brighter. Let me make them more yellow too. Little clusters. I think I need a little more green. And the reflection also. Whatever happens above the water is happening in the water in the form of reflections. All right, let's get a little bit darker. Let's do clusters, little clusters of dots, which will create the illusion of clusters of leaves, a little darker. You can see what I'm doing. I'm doing dots, but I'm also scrubbing in a few like vertical lines, like limbs, to create the illusion of growth back there. This will be helping to define these rocks a little bit too. Yeah, that helps define that a lot. Okay. Okay, we'll come back to this. But I kind of like the way that's looking right now. Now let's do the same thing up here. Get some light yellow, kind of the closest, the parts that are getting hit directly by the sunlight. Make them a little bit bigger than the ones up top. Now let's go for darker. We'll just stick with the, well, darker than that, I guess. There we go. Yeah, that looks, yeah, you got some limbs coming up there, passing over those rocks. Again, I'm not using the reference photo anymore, so now I can take liberties and make my own landscape here. But it's still based on Bear Lake. I've not been there. It'll be fun. You know, that's one of the things I have on my bucket list, is to do more that kind of stuff. Okay. Yeah, the subtle little lines of something growing, around here. That's always a cool thing to do. It makes it. There you go. A couple of those, a couple dark lines, a couple light lines. Make them. Hey, now you can see this half of the painting is definitely has a more of an overgrown look to it. So let's do the same thing over here. So I'm just scrubbing in some dark areas here so I can work with it. Okay, let me make some just willy-nilly branches. Willy-nilly. Now keep in mind that this is a layer. I want to show you the reason that's important, because I'm going to paint underneath this layer in a little bit for the water. So this is actually going on top. It's a pre-planned thing in a way. Okay, let's get some of these leaves here. I hear the birds waking up outside. Yeah, so there was a tree on the corner on the edge in the reference photo. I chose not to use it. I thought about exaggerating it by bringing it in. I didn't like that either, so it's good. Just leave it out. It's not that necessary. And the good thing to do with when you have darks and lights with leaves is clusters. I think make a little cluster of them here and there and keep some space between them. It seems to be the way it looks most natural. And again, over here, just like on the other side, make sure there's some horizontal line. I'm sorry, vertical lines. Was I saying horizontal earlier? Well, if I was, I meant vertical. Yeah, so let's go back over here. All right, let's get some more dark clusters as well as light clusters. And then some subtle mid-tone clusters also. Always helps. Okay, I'm just trying to imagine what this would look like in the real world with little leaves poking out over the water. I think we're getting there. I think we're starting to see it looking like that, right? That's another. See some vertical lines. Maybe the tree is off the picture and some of the limbs are making its way through. That could be what's happening here too. All right, let's go back to the green. Not that good. Let's make it more yellow green. All right. Do the same thing over here. All right. some lines that look like maybe some grass growing on this side of the rock. Hey, Dariana. Hi, Dariana. Oh, look at that. You got a little puppy dog on your picture. Well, that's nice that you said hi. I'm working on a picture right now, Dariana, of Bear Lake in Colorado. It's not the big Bear Lake like from Utah. It's the little one in the Rocky Mountain National Park. And I'm kind of almost done. So if you're just watching and you didn't read anything, this is my iPad, and I'm using the Procreate app. Let me show you what that looks like. That's the Procreate app. And this is my artwork I've done in the past. And I've done children's illustrations, but I also have landscapes, which is what I'm doing right now. And I'm using the Procreate app using the brush called Dry Brush. You can see it right there. And so that's where I am. And I had a reference photo I was using, but now I'm using just my own imagination. And I'm continuing. Oh, okay. So let me finish with what I'm doing here. Well, thank you for saying hi. Oh, thanks. Hey, thank you, Dariana. That's nice. So anyway, so I'm adding a little bit of depth with the dark areas. So just to create this illusion. So if you were to see, let me show you, Dariana. I'll show you the reference photo. That's the reference photo. You see, that's what I started with. But I don't want to replicate the photo. I just want to create a painting. So that's what I use. I used the elements from this, the rocks, the water, the growth. And you can see the background. See how dark it is in the photo? I purposely made it light, almost as if there was a morning fog happening and kind of obscuring it. I'm going to probably expand on that and bring that further, closer, like the fog is closer. But see, even in the actual photo, you see some of these vertical lines, not quite vertical, but you know, they come across from the little limbs of the trees that are in the picture. But I'm done with that part of the process of using the reference photo. All right, what I want to do now, see, now there's that layer, see? Now that's on top of the bottom layer. So I want to add another layer, but I want to drag it down to underneath the new one I just did. The reason I did that is so that I can work on the water, and it'll be over the picture behind it. All of that stuff is going to be behind it, and all of this stuff is going to be over it. So it's in the middle, okay? And that's how I am going, hopefully, to get the water to look like water, okay? So this is the rock, and this is the reflection of the rock over here. And this is a bush in the background. Let's kind of give it a little bit more definition. And this is the reflection of the bush in the background. I didn't quite do a good job at that. Okay. Now I think, see how this close-up rock is very white, but I don't want that because it's close-up. I want to make a little bit of purple-ish. I think that's the way to make this a little bit more distant looking. Same thing over here with this rock. See, I knew when I did this rock that I was going to change that, but I had to be able to see it for myself. And there's the reflection in the water. And with reflections, you know, you can kind of have fun and kind of scribble them down. And just sample the colors and work with them. Okay, now I'm going to make the point of the painting a little bit bigger. Now, you see what I'm doing? Now I'm painting under that layer. Isn't that cool? I'm kind of creating this illusion here. making sure some of this water it's clear that it's water. I want to make sure that the person looking at the painting gets the sense that this is a body of water here. Okay. Now let's take a slightly different hue. Let's make it a tiny bit almost blue. We're used to water looking blue. I just want to add a little bit of that here and there. I think it'll complement the green, it'll complement the purple. You know, blue exists in purple and blue exists in green. So it kind of makes sense to have it like that. And then blue-green is also not a bad choice either. So let's go to the bluish green. In Florida, we have a lot of that blue-green water. It's not really blue-green. It's just the way it looks, you know, the way the sun reflects off of it. Okay, and I'm purposely doing horizontal lines because... Oh, no problem, Dariana. No, go. Yeah, you gotta get to bed. What is it, 7:06? You better get to bed. Oh my gosh, you've been up all night? All right. Well, good night. Thank you for popping in. All right, so I'm doing the horizontal lines, and I'm not quite happy with that. So let's go back to the deeper purples. Actually, let's do some deeper greens here, and cover up some of that I just did. And the intent is to cover it sorta, kind of, not completely. There. Now I think we're starting to see what looks like water. And what I like about the rock is that that's the rock just as much as this is, and that's in the shadow. Isn't that cool? Let's take that shadow and let's put it on top of that. We'll use that layer for this. Just a little bit of that color over here. It's almost like a graduated shadow right there. All right, now let's take the rock in the background there, and let's give it more of a reflection here. Yeah, so this is a lake, not a river. So the water is not stagnant, but it's, you know what I mean, it's not flowing. It might be flowing. I don't really know this lake, but still, it would have some points that where the water is reflecting light in the same way that it does on a flowing body of water. Would make sense, right? And the dry brush is perfect for that because the dry brush doesn't put down like a pure line of paint. It puts down almost a jagged line. Okay, so now we have the rocks over there. Let me see if I like that. Oh yeah, it makes a big difference. Let's duplicate that and see how that does. Oh, that did nice. Sometimes I like duplicating it. That's with it. Without it, that's with it. I like it with it. Okay, let's try the second layer, see if that helps to duplicate it. Yeah, I think so. And let's try the first layer and duplicate it. Let's see. Yeah, I think so. Okay, now we have almost finished the picture. So I'm going to group all of these together. So now we have only one layer. All the layers that I've been working with are now combined to make one layer. And the only thing I want to try, I'm going to do a new layer. I want to try to take a light hazy color and just bring it into the background. See if I can bring that haziness across some of that distant water there. So let me sample that color. What does it give me? It gives me this. I think I'll make it a little bit lighter, make it bigger. Now I'm going to change the opacity also, way down to 40%, 44%. And I'm using this layer so I won't be ruining it. But I just want to scrub it in there, see what happens. We don't want to scrub it to the stuff that's close. We just want to scrub it to the stuff that's distant. Just a little bit. Yeah, it almost makes it hard to see across the lake. It's like there's a fog going on the lake. Like maybe it's early morning and the fog hasn't lifted yet. Now, I don't know if you can tell what's happening. It's hard for me to tell. But here's how we know. We'll take the layer and we'll undo it and then we'll redo it. You see? See how that makes a big difference? That's without it. That's with it, I mean. That's without it. That's with it. Yeah, it creates that. Now, I do think it's a little bit exaggerated, so I'm going to take this, the opacity, I'm going to reduce it a little bit. Okay, now let's see what happens. Yeah, I kind of like that. All right. Now, the only thing I'm not so sure about is this a little too stark right here for a composition. So let's just experiment a little bit. Let's put a layer and get some of these dark tones. Let's just see what happens if I put a, is it working? Okay, I want to put a line above it. Maybe it needs to be darker. Oh, maybe it's the opacity's way down. That's fine. Whoa, that's not good. That's not good. See, if it was real paint, that would have ruined it. Maybe not. Maybe just a few. Maybe some lighter ones too. A few more leaves. It's kind of working. In fact, it's working. It's better than I thought it would work. Okay. Just a little bit of growth. That's close to the camera. Go back to the darker colors. Maybe even the rock itself had more facets that we could define. It's not too bad. Let me compare it. Okay, I'm good with that, I think. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to erase some of that. Here's the eraser. The eraser is set for pastel. I don't want that. I want the eraser to be the same as the brush. So let me make it bigger. I'm just going to erase some of those ones I did in the very middle here. Yeah, that's better. They were kind of bothering me. Okay, now one more thing I want to do. First of all, I'm going to put this all together, make it one layer again. I'm going to add another layer. Now watch this. I'm going to move this up here. You see where it says multiply? That's a multiply layer. Check this out. Let me make it big so you can see it. I'm going to cover the whole painting with that violet color that we started with. Not quite this a little bit darker. Okay, cover the whole painting with that. Oh, look at that. It ruined it, right? We don't want that. We don't want that to happen right there. However, watch this. When I take this eraser, now I'm going to erase the back where it's well lit. Reduce the opacity of the eraser just a bit so I can get some of these well lit areas here. I might not keep this, but I'm just experimenting here. Okay, so there's the water reflecting the lights, the water reflecting the trees. Here's the light, the sunlight coming into the. See, as I erase what I did on the multiply layer, it creates this cool effect of light coming in. And that back area is gonna be lit. It's got that haze going on. Put a couple of areas back here that are lit. Over here. Get some of those blues back in the water right there. There's the light coming through the trees. All right, now let's compare with and without the multiply layer. That's with, that's without. I think I like it with better. See, it's well lit, and it's now a little bit more mysterious. Okay, I think that's it. That's our painting of Bear Lake. So I'm going to put my name on it. So I'm going to do a separate layer for my name. I'm going to make the corner very big. I'm going to take the turpentine brush. Here it is. And I'll use a small point. And I'll spell my name. So I can sign the painting. The debate about whether to sign paintings or not, I think you should. I think it's not ego, and if it is, so what? But I don't think it's ego as much as it is giving the customer or the end owner something that they like. They like seeing the name of the artist on the thing. All right, so I was too close to the edge. So watch how I do this. Put the year, 2023. Now I'm going to shrink what I just did, shrink it. And then I'm going to lasso the 2023, and I'm going to pull that over and put it next to my name instead of above it like that. And that's still too big, so I'm going to make it even smaller. I want my name on it. I don't necessarily need it to be a billboard. So let's see if that works. Make it real tiny. And then it's in the corner, and somebody who wants to know who did the painting, they'll know. And there you go. The painting itself, by the way, if you're interested in the painting, the way I earn money is I sell them. So I'm going to show you my website where you can buy it. Okay? Let me see, how do I do this? I add text. Okay, now I'm going to make that text bright and white so you can see it. And I'm going to spell out for you my address. Okay? How do I do this again? I forget how to do it. Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. So it is HTTPS : oops, that's a semicolon / / I was told no W's. So So there's my name, L-A, is it right? HATTPS:// Did I do that right? Larry, and then hyphen, and then my last name, Whitler. We'll make that bigger so it's one line. And then dot, and the word is pixels, pixels.com. Oops, pull it out there. Oh, and it fits perfectly. Okay. So I'll put this painting up on my my Pixels. It's a Fine Art America is what it's called. I hope that's right. So I know that part's right. I'm not sure about that part. Okay, kids. I hope you liked it. Thank you, Dariana, for popping in and saying something. And hope you get a good sleep. And that's it. Now I have to turn it off. Okay? All right. Let me do this. Okay. Well, there we are. There's the finished picture. I'll put it up on my Pixel site. All right. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Or good morning, in my case. I'm on the East Coast of the U.S., so it's 7:21 in the morning. All right, bye.